Well, it looks like the crew here really wants to work on some dovetails. So on this week's show, we'll be delving into dovetailing, but we're not necessarily going to be approaching it the way you might think. There's plenty of tutorials out there on how to cut dovetails. Dovetailing Apprenticeship is one such instructional DVD that comes to mind. And if you're unsure where to get a copy of that, wander around the website a little. All that said, I think rather than do a show on where I give you how to cut dovetails, I'm going to work with these guys and show you how to patch up, fix, and avoid some of the common problems with your dovetails. I'm also going to examine sawing technique and how to help you clean up those sloppy dovetails. So let's get started. All right, well, let's start with this one since we've already sort of got it set up here on the bench with a holdfast. This comes from when you took your marking gauge and you scored your line, and what happened was you started to peel out and you went, see how the tip of my chisel is getting real close to that line? Mm-hmm. What happened was you got real close and then you started to, well, it won't do it there, but why don't you give it a try real quick? To the line. Turn it over. There you go. Oh, that's perfect. The problem of being too tight, though, what we want to do, well, first of all, the first thing I'm seeing is we're up on this corner. Can you see that we're just above that line, the scribe line right there, which is nice. And we just want to pare right down to that line. You can actually undercut that surface just a little bit. And then what we'll do is we'll see just how tight that is. Let's get rid of some of that mess. Take the chisel and the mallet, and we want to actually start right on that scribe line, and then we want to tilt just a few degrees past 90, and I want you to chop down about halfway. What we want to end up with is either perfectly flat or slightly hollow in the middle. Okay. So let's give that a shot and see what happens. And you can that's the next segment, is working on your sawing. There you go. Don't saw your finger off. That covers 3 or 4 really common errors. So let's take a look at some more. So now we've got Joe here, and he's got a few more of the common dovetail problems going on here. So what do you got for me, Joe?
Well, the first one, we got some gaps here that I just don't know what happened there.
All right, well, we'll take a look at that. But this one's high in the middle. Okay. And if you really look at this one, you can start to see there's this crack here in the piece. And what that is our chisel. And
just undercutting.
Just slightly undercut. Not a lot, just a couple of degrees. Okay? And then we'll go back and clean out all those corners. Still see there are fibers sticking up right there in that corner. Right. And we want to make those corners as crisp and clean as we can possibly get them. Mostly what I've seen is in German dovetails, and they would actually cut their dovetails with a gap like that, and then what they would do is they would run a saw kerf in here and then drive a wedge in there to split the pin, then hold all that into position.
Okay, so actually making a mistake might not be a bad thing, because I could put a wedge in there and
it depends on what
I'm going for.
Exactly.
Right, that's pretty neat though.
All right, well then let's try the next one here on half blinds. You're tight here, but you've got a gap there. I'll bet if we take this apart, we'll find out that this thickness isn't uniform all the way through. It is thicker at the back than it is at the front.
And that's pushing it up.
Similar problem to there. Oh yeah, if we look straight down here. So let's take a look at this one.
Yeah, this one I'm a little disheartened about, but it is what it is.
Well, you were probably just a little too tight, and what happened was you hit this side and it went down while this one bound up.
Right.
So what I would do is back them up a little bit. And what we need to do is figure out which tail, right? Actually, they don't feel all that tight. Sometimes with cherry's really brittle, so
Okay.
there's a good chance that, you know, it
There's
just
a
may
check.
be the nature of the material. If I mean, and you could see as I was pushing down on there, they were moving
Right. under
hand pressure, so that means they're not overly tight.
Okay.
If you wanted to loosen it up a little bit, again, what you could do, I want you guys to come in here, and I think we're gonna try and get to look at the most common problem. Since I told you that dovetailing is really a sawing exercise, I want to see how you and Matt saw and see if we can correct some of the little idiosyncrasies in there so that we can tune up your accuracy and get a much better dovetail.
Okay.
That's pretty good form. The first thing I'm seeing though is you need to loosen up your grip a little bit. All right, so mark one across the end. And let's see how you saw that. Again, we want to try and make it plumb to, or square to the end of the board. Nice form. Got the saw and the forearm in a straight line. Still a little bit of the death grip on the 3 fingers. And just let that saw just float. That's much better. Kick that on an angle this way. And now what you want to do is saw. The idea is you're trying to learn to saw right up against the line, but you don't want to make the line disappear. Okay, you want to leave just a little bit of graphite left. Okay, and once you get to the point where you can saw directly up to the line but not past it, it's going to resolve 90% of those gap problems you've got, and it's going to just make cutting dovetails, and remember it's called cutting dovetails, not carving dovetails. It's going to make cutting dovetails a much more enjoyable and much more productive kind of an endeavor for you.